not going to attack. This is going to allow a token to come into play. Actually, we're going to see a Cabal Therapy from Icrid. Either way, it's not going to attack. And now here's a zombie.
And so, yeah, the Bridge from Below triggers when Caleb, one of Caleb's creatures is put into the graveyard, like when he's sacrificing to a Cabal Therapy flashback. The reason he's not attacking is if one of Steve's creatures dies, then the Bridge gets removed from the game.
The name is Liliana the Veil, and that's a really interesting name. And the reason for that name here is because Steve can actually play that and make himself sacrifice a creature. He can sacrifice the Baleful Strike and get rid of the Bridge from Below. Now you also see there's a copy of Abrupt Decay as well as Diabolic Edict over there. Diabolic Edict, excuse me, over there. So he could still target himself and kill his own creature.
Which is good for him, but that's only phase one of the problems that he's dealing with.
Manaless Dredge. We've been seeing this a little bit more in our top eights. I think the edge that this deck gets is when the opponent doesn't know they're playing against it. So they have no idea, oh man, he chose to draw first, or, you know, I win the die roll, I choose to play first, which is what they want me to do anyway, and go from there.
Yeah, we had a copy of this deck actually appear in the top 8 of the Legacy Open in Los Angeles. It was soundly defeated by a Cloud Post deck that was able to get Bajuka Bug and then Vesuva it over and over again. But
John Kasari made that look pretty ugly.
Yeah, most decks do not have that same amount of disruption for this deck game one. It's essentially Deathrite Shaman or bust for a wide variety of decks in Legacy.
So Grid's going to come on back. Grave Ritual's going to go to the grip, so 6 cards are going to go to the bin. We'll see what those 6 cards are in just a moment. Stinkweed Imp among them. Looks like a copy of Flayer of the Hatebound in there as well. That's kind of the win condition in this deck. It's a little wonky, but when it does come back with a Dread Return, people start taking a bunch of damage.
Shambling Shell there as well, so if you want to have any throwbacks to original Ravnica block draft, you're going to have it here.
And Lord knows I do. That's the best draft format of all time. At least for my money it is. Diabolic Edict going to target Steve. He's going to sacrifice his copy of the Strix, which means Bridge from Below is going to go away, which means Icarid's not going to put another zombie into play. So now for Calhoun, he needs to find another copy of Bridge from Below. But hey, he's got a Dredge 5 coming, so chances are likely that he'll find that, as this is a copy of Bayou. And follow up here is a true name nemesis. Protection from you, says Steve, to Caleb. And now Icarid's going to come back. Plenty of fodder to remove. There goes the Shambling Shell, limited all-star. And now here's a Dredge of 6, as there's another Grave Troll down in the bin. So let's see what he's able to find on this Dredge. I think the card he's looking for the most is Bridge from Below. Narcomoeba doesn't hurt, though. How about 2
Oh, this is a loaded one. I mean, this is going to allow a Dread Return this turn with some backup.
So there is that. The question is it time to do that? It looks like it's going to be a Cabal Therapy at the very least. And he knows that Wise has a copy of Forcible in the hand, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he names. That's exactly what he does name. So 2 Abrupt Decays and a Wasteland is the grip. Ha! Nice Wasteland, bro.
Yeah, a nice true name nemesis.
Yeah, that's true too, I guess.
You've shown up to the wrong fight.
Maybe it is Dread Return time, as you did mention. Could go get the Flayer.
Could also get the Spy.
Oh, right. I forgot that was down there.
Bub, 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 bub.
I think the game might be over now.
Yeah, I think this will be ending shortly.
Well, hold on a minute here. He gets the Spy. He can't turn over any more Narcomoebas. So he's already used 3 Narcomoebas?
Well, he gets to flip over a bunch of bridges and therapies.
Ah, yes, okay. It's taken me a minute here. I've not actually played this version of Dredge. Yeah, so, okay, he can still chain off just fine because he gets his flip over therapies.
Since this does not resemble Magic, we are going to have some confusion along the way.
I should know better than this. I used to play Dredge for a while, even though this is a much different Dredge deck. It doesn't matter that he can't turn this over because of therapy. So what he can do is he's got 3 bridges in the bin. He can flashback Narcomoeba, get 3 zombies, cast a Cabal Therapy, take care of the Abrupt Decays, and then he can go from there.
Right.
I should know better. I'm ashamed of myself. Here's Dread Return, going to sacrifice the zombies. Target is, I believe, Flayer the Hatebound. So there that comes. And there is the 4/2/1 dying. So when it or another creature enters the battlefield, that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. So step 1, 4 to the dome. And now we just get to keep having fun with this. Oh yeah, Cabal Therapy.
Yeah,
sure.
I guess it's sack it to therapy, undying it, bunch of bridge tokens, those all come into play, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
This is sweet. Look at me, I come back.
Right. If you enjoy Magic, but you were just never really into lands and spells, this is the match for you.
You're talking to the right guy.
I just never really. I like everything else about the game, just not lands and spells.
It's kind of lame, really. So now here's a Dread return. That's going to return a very large Golgari Grave Troll. Now, when that comes into play, it'll have power and it'll have toughness, and that power will be dealt to Steve Wise's head. You see, Caleb is going, 13, 14, 15, 16 more than 11, and Caleb Calhoun wins the game. That's fun.
I really enjoyed your True Name Nemesis. That was a real treat.
That's really cool. You got a True Name, you got a Wasteland. Those cards are really expensive.
Oh, you thought the game was going to be about attacking and blocking. Sorry.
I choose to draw first again, if you'll let me. So Caleb Calhoun does win game number 1 here over Steve Wise. We're going to bring it back to the old booth here, as it is trivia time here in Milwaukee. You want to ask the question or me ask the question?
Yeah, I got it.
You got the question?
Yeah.
I love it. Rules here are pretty simple. Get your Twitters ready. Don't tweet me about WrestleMania, please, and thank you. We're going to actually tweet about the question here. Hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. Patrick's going to ask a question. 3 months of premium will be given away to the person who does get this correct out of the group of people who do get it correct. And we'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal match. Now, I'm going to bet this is about Mana Stretch.
It is.
Yeah, I knew it.
Name the one of in his deck. It's the kill condition, essentially.
Nice.
There's only one singleton.
Nice.
And it is the thing that eventually kills you. Name that card.
You can name the card that eventually kills you in Manless Stretch. Again, hashtag the answer.
We saw it that game.
We
It's
did.
right there.
We did. Hashtag SCG Premium at SCG Live is what you want to follow on Twitter. As we're going to head back down to the match, we're going to take a look at some sideboards here. This should be kind of fun. Steve Wise, my advice would be to bring in your Graveyard Hate. So, Nile Spellbomb then.
Yeah, he has 2 copies of Nile Spellbomb, and he has a Surgical Extraction as well. So he's got a little bit of action.
Oh, that was easy. I guess there are other actually options to bring in here. You can make an argument for Force of Will. You can make an argument for Flusterstorm or Spell Pierce and Mazawa's Jite as well to be able to actually kill your creatures. I don't think Vendilion Click's going to play much of a role. It is a clock. I guess that's kind of a thing, I guess. Other than that, I mean, I think the easy things are easy, and then maybe Counter Magic, but Counter Magic doesn't seem very good against this deck.
No, not really. I mean, it will have its spots, bringing up Cabal Therapies, but it's not going to be that helpful against Caleb overall.
On the other side, you've got 2 Ashen Riders, 4 Fairy Macabres, 4 Mindbreak Traps, 3 Surgicals of his own, and a Progenitus.
I like the Progenitus.
What is that doing there? I guess it can't be decked.
It has protection from everything.
But you can't get it into play. You can't reanimate it.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, so it's simply just an anti-decking measure.
Somebody doesn't want to lose to Grindstone.
Okay.
I guess that's kind of neat. Or, you know, it could just be in there just for funsies.
Sure.
That's always a thing that can happen. I don't think he's going to sideboard very much.
Yeah, probably just present the same 60.
Yeah. Hopefully Steve will choose to play first, which means Caleb gets to draw, which means he gets to discard again. Because, again, with Manless Dredge, you do not want to go first, obviously, because you want to be able to discard as soon as you possibly can. Also, you can't mulligan.
Right.
So the 7 cards that you look at are the 7 cards that you are basically keeping every time.
It only loosely resembles Magic. It's kind of doing its own thing.
Yeah. I remember watching Reed Duke actually play this matchup in Philadelphia. He chose to draw when he was playing Elves against Manless Dredge, and he thought he was the opponent on turn 1.
Oh.
So that was really good.
Several time walks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty funny, actually. Eric Rill is going to win game number 1, by the way, in our backup match. 4-color Delver up a game over against Kevin Roth and his 3-color Bug Delver deck. You didn't see that coming.
No, although, you know, Eric's deck is only sort of loosely a deck that I would describe as a 4-color deck. Green's sort of on the periphery.
Yeah, it doesn't really have much green. More of a blue-red.
He has an Edric, you know, Deathrite Shaman activations, sideboard cards and such, but basically a Grixis deck.
I want to know how many cards Edric has drawn. That card's sweet.
It is sweet. We Young Pyromancer, that's good living.
I want to see that happen. Hopefully it'll happen in our elimination rounds here. Steve Wise has the option to play or draw first. Typically, I would say he's on the play, but he actually has the option if he wants to play or draw. And he will play first. And here's Deathrite Shaman. That's a good reason to keep your hand. However, you would be surprised. This deck is a little bit better against Deathrite Shaman than you may think.
Well, you do have the copies of Gataxian Probe and Street Wraith, so you can actually break it up at instant speed, at least with a Street Wraith.
So let's see exactly how Calhoun wants to discard.
Definitely complicates things.
I'm going to start with a probe. See the grip. There's a decay. Couple of lands, a Jace. I'm trying to figure out what that mystery black card is.
Another Deathrite Shaman.
Okay, thank you. It's kind of cut off a little bit there.
Yeah.
Good eye, Sniper. So Probo Resolve. Mystery Draw, Nether Shadow.
So what's Kayla's best path for navigating this?
That's a good question. Here's an Unmask. Seems like he's trying to play a fair game, maybe?
Well, that's just something
Yeah, he doesn't have the tools to do that. Because by casting Unmask, he can't actually discard, you know? So I guess maybe the thought is I can work my way around this Deathrite Shaman. I don't know if that's actually the case.
it seems very hard pressed to do that. Again, since he doesn't have access to mana, he doesn't have lines like, therapy myself and then street wraith it and start the ball rolling.
I've seen attack here with the Deathrite Shaman. I'm not in love with that play. I don't know if he can be punished by that or not, but I don't love that play. Quick update for you guys. They're going to be coming in quickly because we got a lot of combo decks here, and in decks that actually smash combo very quickly. Stacy Windshell up a game with Ad Nauseam Tendrils against Wayne Tam playing Sneak and Show. You thought that was going to happen.
Yeah. I like the faster decks.
Like Burn.
It's actually slower than Ad Nauseam. By a considerable amount.
That just means we need better Burn.
Well, you just take it for what it is. You can't win them all.
1 mana, 5 damage to target player. Too good?
By a lot, yeah.
4?
Too good. Depends how you want games ending.
All right. This is a Jace the Mind Sculptor. It's brainstorm time. That's funny. This is how... So the games are going to be super one-sided, I think. Like, when Calhoun's winning, it's going to be like what we saw in the last game. And when Weiss is winning, it's what we're going to see in this game, which is Calhoun does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, again, the manaless dredge deck has no other angle of attack. It just has to do this.
Yeah, it's one way. Looks like Calhoun's ready to discard a Phantasmagorium. There's that. So you see Weiss is going to take a look at that. We're going to do the exact same here as well. Again, discard 3 cards, return it to your hand. So again, you can discard 3, respond to the ability, discard 3 more if you would like to bring back that horror from the graveyard.
So now it's putting the onus on Steve to make a move here first.
I don't know if you even make a move if you're Steve. Do you have a reason to?
No. You just wait for Caleb, and hopefully he only has 1 dredger, and then you're in a holding pattern for a little while.
Yeah. But for the meantime, you just keep on brainstorming, have a ball with your Jace. Try to find some of that graveyard removal. You see Calhoun's hand, he does have 2 dredgers, a Stinkweed, and a copy of Golgari Grave Troll. But chances are, with this deck, it seems like it takes a couple of turns of dredging before you get to go, nuclear. Here's a brainstorm. And again, if Weiss is able to find a copy of Nile Spellbomb or Surgical Extraction, it's probably over.
Yeah, it's really hard for this deck to overcome having its graveyard nuked.
I've seen many a Manaless Dredge player concede to a rest in peace.
Yeah.
There's another copy of Deathrite Shaman. Simply pass the turn back. Is it time, Phantasmagorium?
Well, it's not getting any easier now with the second Deathrite, so
Yeah, you got to get
Caleb
rolling.
has to make his move.
There's the first activation. Nether Shadow Ichorid and Dread Return go to the bin, followed up by Stinkweed Imp, a Golgari Grave Troll, and a Therapy. Phantasmagorium, you're back in my hand. The big question is, A, do I get to bring back Ichorid? And B, do I get to dread something?
And the Ichorid's actually a little bit annoying here for Steve, as he can threaten Jace and force a chump block or him to lose Jace.
So I'm going to do a little bit of stacking here. Nether Shadow. See if this maybe gets to come back here. You see Calhoun looks like he's very proficient with this deck. You have to be.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of small operations, and they don't really exist outside of this deck.
So no dredge just yet. Wise is going to gain 2 life, removing that now. It's time for Stinkweed to come back. So 5 cards are coming here for Calhoun. See if he finds anything he likes. Bridge from Below is among them. Looks like a Narc Amoeba too. So it's not bad.
A little something to work with.
Mm-hmm. If this deck can beat 2 active Deathrite Shamans, it's much better than I think it is.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Part of the problem is that when we saw this deck in action last, it was just getting massacred by Bajuka Bog Vasuba, which is not a fair representation of the amount of hate this deck is going to play against in most game ones.
The deck that has Expedition Map and Crop Rotation. Oh, Kasari. Boy, Kasari crushed him. He crushed him that night.
It was a delight.
And Golgari Charm is the card that gets named, so that's got to go. Good hit there. There's your zombie token. See Abrupt Decay, Brainstorm. Another Jace over there for Wise. There's a very good chance, too, with this manless stretch deck, that if you've never played against it, you don't really understand the intricacies of what you should be attempting to do. So, you know, this might be Wise's first time playing against this deck. It's very realistic.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird cards that are templated differently than basically any other cards that exist in Magic. Nether Shadow is a very good example. That's an oldie but goodie. And if you wonder why, you know, in Standard, you can mess around with your opponent's graveyard order as much as you want to, or you can flip around your graveyard if you want to, and you can't in Eternal formats, is because of cards like Nether Shadow that care about stacking of the graveyard.
So how about a little Brainstorm action, Jace?
And this is just another great old school template. If Shadow is in graveyard with any combination of cards above it that includes at least 3 creatures, it can be returned to play during upkeep for its normal casting cost. Shadow can attack on the same turn, summoned, or return to play. Mm-hmm. I also really like the fact that there's just random words missing because the text box is so large. Like, the word is missing from during upkeep.
How about the word nether?
From the word Nether Shadow.
This is when Magic was a simpler time.
Yes.
That's all. Nothing serious, no Open Series, no Grand Prix or Pro Tours. It's just meant to be a fun game in between, I don't know, work or lunch.
Actually, games of Dungeons and Dragons, I believe, was the initial vision.
Oh, okay. Well, we've grown a little bit since then. I do like the absolute no use of nether in the text, just shadow.
I mean, the text box almost ran out.
Yeah.
Even removing words like the, which make it kind of read awkwardly.
Just a boring little 1/1 with haste. See if Calhoun can work himself out of this situation.
It's really hard.
Gonna sacrifice an Archamoeba. Cabal Therapy you. Gonna get a zombie token here from Bridge from Below. What to name? Looks like he's targeting himself. He says, I want my Phantasmagorium back in the graveyard.
Okay.
We're really going through the old pipeline here. All he wants to do is try to get that Blade Thrust spine into play, but that doesn't seem possible with Deathrite Shaman just ready.
I mean, Caleb's doing a really good job of trying to tax Steve's resources and force him to constantly answer multiple threats out of the graveyard.
Mm-hmm. One thing that Deathrite Shaman can't do, it doesn't remove enchantments from the graveyard, so Bridge from Below can actually create an advantage here.
Mm-hmm.
So, you see a fetch land and sacrifice. Wise going to go down to 21. Of course, he has been removing creatures from the bin, so he's been gaining a little bit of life via Deathrite Shaman. Eventually, he'll get the spells, but he's got to contain those creatures from the dredge deck. Says, get that thug out of here.
Just trying to count out the dredge creatures that actually let Caleb get the ball rolling here.
Here's a Brainstorm. Spell Pierce, Abrupt Decay, Force of Will. This is a man looking for a Nile Spellbound.
Yes. It's unclear if Caleb can really recover from getting his graveyard nuked at this point. Even something like Surgical Extraction might be really challenging to beat.
Brainstorm is going to resolve. Wise going to take a draw. It's that Spell Pierce for your number 1 seed. Maybe it's time to go brainstorming again.
Well, Fate Sealing doesn't do a lot of good.
Looks like he just wants to brainstorm, Fate Seal, put that card to the bottom.
By which I mean Fate Sealing Caleb does not do a lot of good.
Yeah. Those cards on his deck do not matter. Phantasmagorium, I would like to activate you. Shamley Shell, Stinkweed Imp, to the bin. Let's do this. Absolutely. Is he getting any trouble from doing this? He, does Icarid get, no Icarid. Can Nether Shadow come back?
Well, we can go back to the tape. I believe it needs 3 creatures on top of it.
Just for the Shadow to come back.
Is in graveyard, again, missing, with any combination of cards above it that includes at least 3 creatures, yes, so.
All right, no Shadow. Oh, look at this!
Something resembling modern templating.
No one wants to see this card.
We got the Gully 5th edition version, the home of all of Magic's worst artwork.
It sounds like personal bias there, Patrick.
God, I don't know. So go through the 5th edition spoiler when you get a chance.
Is Will-O-Wisp in that set?
No, it was printed in 4th, but not 5th edition, I think.
Okay.
Maybe it was in 5th. I know it's in 4th.
Here's an Abrupt Decay to take down a zombie token. Jace is going to go down to 3.
And I think Steve's plan at this point, if the Fate Sealing was really any indication, his plan here, I think, is just to try to go ultimate with Jace, use the Deathrite Shaman to prevent Caleb from getting anything going.
Yeah, and he's obviously done a very nice job of that this turn and this game because, I mean, if you remember the last one, it wasn't particularly close.
No.
Didn't really do anything too relevant. Time to brainstorm. There's a Creeping Tar Pit. That's a brainstorm.
And there's the Nile Spellbomb, and that will likely shut the door on this one.
Winner, I believe, Chicken Dinner. Eric Rill, his match against Kevin Roth, they're going to game 3. That was going to be our backup match. That might actually finish before this one, which is a little surprising. I thought this would be a rather one-sided affair. And if we can find out anything about the Alex Javad versus Lawrence Griswold match, Sneak and Show versus Bug Delver, we'll obviously let you guys know about that. Stacey Winchell with Ad Nauseam Tendrils up a game again over Wayne Tam playing Sneak and Show. And then obviously we have this one in front of us. Caleb Calhoun did win game number 1 in very impressive fashion over Steve Wise, but it looks like we're going to head to a third one here in just a bit.
I'd be really surprised if Caleb was able to maneuver into this one. Again, the absence of spells making it very challenging to come back.
And lands. Yeah. He's tough. You only get to do a couple things then. Well, he says proudly will attack.
With not an ounce of fear.
Never going to give you up, Abrupt Decay that. Never going to give you up. All right, pass the turn back. Deathrite Shaman's going to work. Another Shadow, and what other rubbish do you have down here? All right, Narcomoeva's got to go.
Sure.
Gain a little bit more life. So Wise will take an untap. 2 Shamans and a Nile Spellbound out there. You got to admire the moxie. The refusal to concede.
It's really, I'm entertained by watching the Dredge players who are really just their hands in their head, trying to think of some way to get out of this, and they're looking at a hand of cards that aren't even remotely castable. If there was only some way to get this Phantasmagorium into play, then I could really start turning this one around.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't get bounced by Chase every turn.
Yeah, exactly. And now Steve is working towards the flawless victory, which I really like.
Yeah. Wiping out all of the graveyard, just leaving a man with cards in his hand.
Could actually ultimate Jace, Nile Spellbomb him, just leave him with nothing.
Now he's going to go Fate Sealing this way. Calhoun's going to take a draw. It's a copy of Dread Return. Nice. Time to remove. Puts you down to 9. So, Wise will untap. He'll take a draw. He'll make his way. We can promise you that. Wasteland looks at the draw off the top. Here's 3 mana. Oh, now he's getting really aggressive.
Yeah.
Old Tar Pit.
Time to turn it on.
No more messing around.
I believe can he generate lethal this turn? I think he has enough mana to attack with 2 Creeping Tar Pits and activate Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, you see it gets a land out there, so activate 1 Tar Pit, 1, 2, use the Wasteland, activate the other Tar Pit, and then he has, I think he has exactly enough, right? You attack with both Tar Pits, that's 6, attack with the Deathrite Shaman, that's 7, activate the other one, that's 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Caleb could have a, forget it.
A snapback.
Perhaps a contagion.
Yeah.
Wise is going to put Calhoun down to 2. And a little basic math means a 2 minus 2 is 0. Let's play a third one, shall we? Caleb, a little bit of a grin here, playing it out on camera.
So after that those first 2 games, I feel Steve definitely needs to mulligan for Deathrite Shaman or its equivalent.
Yeah, for sure.
Keeping that hand in the first game that went turn 1 Creeping Tar Pit, I think is unacceptable.
Yeah. Especially when you know the matchup.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you can easily win on a mulligan to 5 or even to 4 with a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, assuming you have great mana. So I think Steve needs to be very aggressive mulliganing.
Patrick, I don't know if you knew this. Apparently some people watching on Twitter remember our old game, Name That Nephilim.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a little while.
It has been a bit.
I think maybe we'll break that out next round, perhaps. We'll see.
That's all up to Eric Rill.
Yeah, it really does.
That's up to him.
It really does fall in his hand in his 4-color deck. So he is definitely some sort of Nephilim out there. We're not going to let you guys know which one. That's up to you. Well, we'll see. We'll see. As both players will shuffle up here again. Quick updates on our other matches. Eric Rill and Kevin Roth, 4-color Delver versus Bug Delver. That's our backup match if we can get to it. They're in game number 3. Stacy Winchell versus Wayne Tam. Ad Nauseam Tendrils versus Sneak and Show. Up a game here for Winchell. And then Alex Javad versus Lawrence Griswold. They're in maybe game 1, not sure.
What is noteworthy is that Stacy Winchell's Storm deck is a Nephilim Storm deck and is on the opposite side of the bracket from Eric Rill. So a Nephilim mirror is in play. Just a lot of storylines.
Now you're speaking my language. I like it. No blue-white-red Delver in the top 8 this weekend. 3 bug decks. 2 Sneak and Shows. Maybe that's back on the upswing here. It's been a little while since we've seen Sneak and Show really dominate like we did at the back end of last year.
It still is, I think it's one of the premier decks of combo. Premier combo decks of the format, rather.
Sneak and Show, speaking of which, did even it up. Wayne Tam able to defeat Stacy Winchell in game number 2. So they'll play a 3rd one here. Winner of that match gets the winner of this match. Some 3-game sets taking place here. So, players drawing their hands. Calhoun presumably chose to draw first, as that's what his deck wants to do. He just wants to discard a card. Now, if you're Steve Wise, you have the tools to mulligan aggressively. I think you have to.
Yeah.
Find me a Deathrite. Find me a Nile Spellbomb. Heck, even find me a Surgical.
Yeah, any of that's fine.
Surgical's not great, but it's good enough. There's a Wasteland. Yep, that's how you do it right there.
Good start.
Yeah. Well, that's Spellbomb, and you just go from there.
Although opening on the Wasteland, you had to wonder.
A little dubious. Makes you wonder if he has more lands or not, and if he's just relying on this. Uh-oh. Ho, ho, ho.
So he kept the other side of it, which was a hand with nothing going on but a Nile Spellbomb.
So now here's a couple Narcomoebas. Now, to be fair, you can beat this Nile Spellbomb. As now here's 2 Narcomoebas. So now, do you want to break it now? Or do you want to wait for later? He says, I'll wait for later. Thanks to the Narcomoebas. 2 free 1/1s. It's probably time for Calhoun to discard now. The question is, what do you discard? You probably don't want to discard another dredge creature because you just dredged into a Grave Troll.
Yeah, you can afford to keep a Grave Troll behind to reset post Spellbomb.
Uh-huh. And it looks like he's ready to discard, and this is a Dread return, so pass it back over to Wise. Calhoun feeling pretty good about things here, all things considered. Quick update for you guys. Another match. Alex Javad with Sneak and Show. Moving on. Defeats Bug Delver relatively quickly. Lawrence Griswold no longer with us. So congratulations to our 2-seed playing the winner of Eric Rill and Kevin Roth when we do get there. Here's a little more dredging. Another Narcomoeba. Do you want to move now? That bridge from below might cause an actual movement.
Yeah, the graveyard's really starting to build up into a dangerous place here. Maybe he doesn't want to move until there's a therapy or some way for a bridge to get activated.
That's scary, though.
It's hard to know exactly what is Steve's tipping point here. When does he say enough?
These free creatures, Narcomoebas may not seem much, but they actually pressure your life total. And this Bug Control deck, this is Bug Control, not Bug Delver, so it's a little soft against flyers.
I had to imagine if Steve hasn't moved yet that he's waiting for Cabal Therapy to get flipped over.
Yeah. Icrid, maybe. Could be the tipping point, maybe more bridges as well. He's definitely waiting for something. Now he's discarding. Wowee. Yeah, Shamming Shell was the draw there, so now he's actually going to draw a card.
And it's
Looks
a
like he picked up a surgical.
Yep.
Well, that takes care of the bridges. It's pretty sweet.
That gives him a lot more flexibility on sitting on that Nile spell bomb.
Yeah.
But can he even afford to pay Phyrexian mana?
That's a real thing right now.
Yeah.
You can discard True Nemesis. Pass the turn back. This is not your game, True Nemesis. Phantasmagorium. Looks like Calhoun does not want to use that. So it looks like he's just saying, I'm ready to dredge if you don't mind. He's going to dredge a Thug, so 4 cards coming. See an Unmask, a couple other cards here.
And I think Calhoun's pretty happy to play this game of, all right, well, I'll just keep doing this, build up my graveyard a little bit. Eventually, you're going to hit some sort of tipping point. And that's going to prompt a response, and he has a lot left over to reset it.
We're going to fix our mood lighting for you guys in just a moment. There we are. So, here come the Narcos. I wonder if there's anything interesting going to happen here. It's interesting because discarding here for Calhoun it's kind of like an art form now. What does he want to let go versus what does he want to keep? There's a tar pit, so Wise actually draws another land finally. Unfortunately for him, it comes into play tapped.
Just sitting and waiting.
Patience is a virtue. We'll see if it pays off. 4 cards. Second bridge. Icrid 2. Maybe this is it. Here's the attacks, but Wise is going to go down 12.
Again, I still feel like Cabal Therapy is the trigger point.
Okay. That's tough, man. Icrid with bridge. Icrid with 2 bridges. I would be interested then. I understand your argument with Cabal Therapy, don't get me wrong. Because that sets off the chain of events, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe Icrid is going to prompt him to move soon.
Yeah, because then that gives you 2 zombies. That's a 3-power attacker. He's already under the gun. You know, imagine if Icrid comes across with those Narcomoebas. That's 6 damage, 2-turn clock. That might be the one that prompts the action.
Remember, there's also a surgical backup in all of this as well.
Yeah, that's true. He can actually hardcast surgical now, too, because of the tar pit. So maybe he doesn't have to freak out too much about Icrid. He just takes those out of the deck. But at the end of it, he's got to contend with Narcomoebas. That's the big problem here. He's going to discard a therapy. Okay, so let's see if you're right.
Yeah.
Why is he going to draw a card? Looks like he picked up a land.
All right, he's got a little bit to work with now. He's finally got his mana online.
He's had a Forcible in his hand forever. I don't know if he has a blue card, but then again, a spell hasn't been cast, so.
There's a Jace in his hand, so.
See an Abrupt Decay over there, some other things. Steve Wise going to play a Verdant Catacombs. That puts him at a virtual 11. Doesn't change the clock any, as Calhoun's hitting in increments of 3.
It does mean if he sacrifices the fetch land, then suddenly alternate cost on surgical extraction becomes prohibitive.
Mm-hmm. Deathrite Shaman to come into play. This is probably why Wise kept. I bet his hand was, Wasteland Nile Spell on Deathrite Shaman X. Maybe even Forcible blue card. And it just took him forever to draw the land. So he's going to kick it back after playing Deathrite. Now we're going to see an Icrid trigger. Would you let me do this?
Yeah, I have to imagine this prompts a response.
Yeah, you're going to see an activation here, the Verdant Catacombs. As we have our first winner, Mr. Eric Rill and 4-color Delver. Our backup match, which will not be a backup match at all, defeats Kevin Roth. 2-1. 4-color Delver beats Bug Delver.
I think he's moving on to a positive semifinal matchup as well.
Yeah, he plays against Sneak and Show. So there's the Nile Spellbound activation. So we'll see exactly what's going to happen here outside of the attacks here for 3. And now it's time to discard again for Calhoun.
But this is tough to reset now in the face of that Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, I mean, Deathrite Shaman is a real thing, but there's also not really a graveyard to feed off of. And you see 28 of the life totals here. I guess he's just really trying to figure out what to discard.
Well, it's just hard. You know, it's hard for him to get any forward momentum at this point because the Deathrite Shaman is going to start doing some real work. And it's possible he doesn't even want to put creatures in his graveyard because he doesn't want Steve to have the option of gaining life. Because once he starts, you know, getting his threats into play and deploying his creatures, Caleb's going to need to do something other than get Narcomoebans in play.
So he's just going to discard Dread Return. And then pass the turn back. So this game has been much different than anything we've seen. Oh, tough guy.
Whoa.
Tough guy. Deathrite. Oh. A Maelstrom Pulse.
Oh, yeah.
There she is.
Although, Caleb has actually just picked up a Street Wraith here, which is actually it's the ideal draw for him at this point.
I agree.
If Steve gets sloppy with this Deathrite Shaman, then.
Pulse with a little 3-for-1 action. That was mighty entertaining. Let's see what this is going to be. Here's a Brainstorm. Here's the thing, though. We do know that Weiss has a copy of Surgical. So, we'll see what happens.
He's got some pretty great insurance here.
Man, I forgot all about Maelstrom Pulse's way to get himself out of that situation. Deathrite? I think we're going to see a little cycle. Yeah, there's your Street Race cycle.
This feels like it's going to prompt the circuit.
Yeah, I think it has to. There goes Golgari Troll. There goes the other one. You may search my deck if you like.
And this is pretty rough for a number of reasons here. It's going to take also, because there was a Grave Troll in Caleb's hand, it's going to take him a little while to reset because he no longer has a full hand.
Yeah, it's just going to be a little draw go for a couple of turns, which is the worst place for Calhoun to be. There's a Cabal Therapy. That can stay in the deck.
Yeah, you can keep that.
Yeah. Good guy, Steve Weiss. So on one side, we're going to see Sneak and Show against 4-color Delver. On the other, we're not quite sure yet. We got Sneak and Show and Ant going to battle in a Game 3. This is also a Game 3. But it looks like things are really tilting Steve Weiss's way now.
Yeah, it feels, you know, Steve has done a good job, you know, once he started actually being able to cast his spells, of ensuring that Caleb didn't sneak anything into play. And once we get to this spot where there's some amount of forward momentum on Steve's side, it's hard for Caleb to catch up.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, too, is that he was just given so much time because now Spellbomb. Even though things didn't go the right way, he was still just given so much time. See a little confusion here among the players.
Yeah. And it speaks a lot to the fragileness of the Dredge deck.
Mm-hmm.
A turn 1 Nile Spellbomb, saying go several times, discarding, etc. Still, Caleb could not find a way to fight through it.
So we'll get this cleared up here. I think it might involve the Street Wraith and if he drew a card or not. So as soon as we do know, of course, we'll let you guys know back here in the booth, though. Yeah, there's a discrepancy on what part of the turn they're in, so I could understand the confusion. So that was a main phase Deathrite Shaman activation. There's a cycle of the Street Wraith in response, and then surgical extraction in response to that, so he doesn't get to Dredge 6. So the surgical resolve that, get the Grave Trolls out of the bin, and then the Street Wraith would resolve, so he'd have nothing to Dredge, so he would just draw a card normally, and then the Deathrite activation would actually be canceled upon resolution because there's nothing there to take.
Right.
So there you go. Put me in that blue shirt. Get me down there. Don't do that. Yeah, everything was happening in Steve's main phase, so we're good. And see, just like that, everything's fine because Calhoun has less than 7 cards in his hand, so all he gets to do is say draw and go. And now Steve Wise, with a Force of Will, he's got a Jace too.
Also,
sitting pretty.
Let this be a lesson about aggressive mulligans against this deck. Game 1, Steve kept a fine hand that didn't have Deathrite Shaman. He did not stand a chance.
No, not at all.
This game, he kept Nile Spellbomb, Wasteland, didn't cast anything for several turns, and it looks like he's going to win this game fairly comfortably.
Flare the hate bound the draw. Yeah, how about I get Taxian Probe? Let me see what I can't beat. Abrupt Decay, Forcible Brainstorm among them. Oh, spell. Okay. Actually, you don't get to see. I guess that Spell Pierce isn't getting any better.
Well, also, it's another thing that sets Caleb behind on discarding.
Yeah, that's true. Dread Return, gonna get removed. Looks like some of the other things are too. So, gonna gain a little bit of life here. If you're wondering if Deathrite Shaman's good, yeah, it is.
It's definitely good against the deck that needs to get a creature into its graveyard to get anything going.
It does too much. It's just too good of a card. I'm gonna give in eventually and actually play it once. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen.
I played it. It was a blast. In
Yeah.
Modern when it was legal.
Yeah, of course you did.
What
Traitor.
do you mean, of course I did? Like,
Traitor.
I have a history of playing with the best cards. What kind of comment is that?
You traitor, you. You have to earn your victories.
Oh, Patrick just always playing the best deck in the format.
Yep. It's pretty easy
Come
to
on.
do. It's pretty easy to do, buddy.
That's never been me once.
Nether Shadow is the draw. 8 cards over there. It's time to discard. It just won't be an effective one. This looks very reminiscent of game number 2, where it's just kind of some hopeless discarding now.
Yeah. Going through the permutations, but unfortunately, every turn is just going to play out the exact same way.
Mm-hmm. Calhoun says, that's fine. Discard Bridge from below. And yeah, he won't. Yeah, so in order for him, if he discards, that's the end of the turn. So he actually has to activate Death Shaman before discard happens. So that's what he's going to do. Get rid of the Gitaxian Probe. Calhoun will lose 2. There's the discard of the bridge. Pass the turn back.
And this is lethal again. I mean, we have a Creeping Tar Pit. We have a Creeping Tar Pit, a True Name Nemesis, and
As long as he has a land, right? I think that's the
Yeah.
only thing he needs. Because, yeah, Tar Pit Nemesis is 6. And then the Shamans, would be 4. Quick update for you guys. Wayne Tam, Sneak and Show. Winner, beating Storm 2-1. So, Emrakul and Gristlebrand hanging out. Both of them make it to the semifinals. And Wayne will be playing the winner of this match. What looks like it's going to be Bug Control. So, should make for a very interesting semifinals. It's a long time since we've seen a bunch of Sneak and Show decks.
2 in the top 4. It's probably been very long since we've seen that.
Yes. Especially when one of them isn't William Huey Jensen.
Caleb slowly draws the card for the turn, like there's something to be done here.
It's Bonfire of the Damned. That I can't cast. Steve Wise with Bug Control, mulliganing appropriately and getting the job done thanks to Nile Spellbomb. Moving on to the semifinals to play against Wayne Tam and his Sneak and Show deck. Congratulations, of course, to Caleb.